it can lead to stress. It can lead to burnout. It can lead to these ridiculous expectations that we can all put on ourselves, which make us lose the passion of what we're doing. So then, can't be bothered doing this.
Welcome to Soundboard with Tofe. Here you'll learn all things podcasting to help you connect with your audience. And here's your host, Tofe Evans.
Hello, and welcome to the Soundboard with Tofe podcast. This is your host, Tofe Evans, and welcome to episode 17. Now, if you're a first-time listener, this is the podcast about podcasting. If I be a lot more specific, this is the podcast that helps industry leaders and companies with streamlining their podcasts. So I talk editing, I talk strategy, I talk tips and tricks, and I talk about anecdotal experience as well, things that have worked and that hasn't worked for me. Now, with today's episode, it's around one of the biggest challenges that gets in the way of podcasters being able to produce consistent episodes. Now, if you guessed time, you're on the money. And that is because everyone is time poor these days. That's just the hard reality. Everyone doesn't have the capability of getting everything done themselves. Even companies that I work with that have podcasts, even their marketing teams don't have time to do this because this is almost like a foreign concept to them that they know this is going to be valuable, but they just don't have the knowledge, the expertise, or even the time to execute this. And it's the same thing with industry leaders. When all they want to do is share their message, do you really think that they're going to have the time to go, oh, I'm going to go into the software and edit this, and I'm going to, as well as planning how their episodes look? Now, what does that equal? So if we look at the other problems that are associated with time, it can lead to stress. It can lead to burnout. It can lead to these ridiculous expectations that we can all put on ourselves, which make us lose the passion of what we're doing. So then, can't be bothered doing this. And that means consistency goes out the window because your listening community is used to listening to episodes at a specific time of the week, of the month, when however often you're releasing, that it's kind of going to be up and down for them and they will never know when to listen. So fortunately, there are some solutions around this. They may seem obvious, but for myself that does this for a living, that does podcast editing and podcast strategy for a living, these are really effective ways to prevent yourself from being time poor. And the first one comes down to structure, or in other terms, time management. How are you planning your weeks out, your months out for when you are doing your podcast, that you're allocating time purposely for these episodes? You may have, say, just Mondays. I'm just throwing this out hypothetically. You may have a day in the week, say Monday, and 3 hours of that is recording. And then Friday, maybe the editing and the fine tunes, as well as the scheduling. That could be your structure. Whatever it looks like, it's about planning your day out or planning your week out, because that's how anything is done. It does come to project management. It's not like we're going to do this on the fly, or else it's going to be quite sloppy. The second thing that I could say as a solution, and it does kind of tie in with time management, is batching. Batching is an underestimated and effective tool because it means that you can record 3, 5, 7 episodes at once, depending on how long your episodes are and how much time you have allocated, so that you don't have to be behind the 8 ball. So for myself, I record usually 3 episodes at a time. Any clients I work with, 3, 4, 5 episodes at a time, because we're talking seasonal here. When there are holidays in the year, there's going to be no time behind a mic. If you record ahead of time, it also means that editing can be done ahead of time and scheduling as well. And then they'll be released before you know it, and it won't feel like a burden that's on the shoulders. The third tip I can give you is delegation. This applies to both companies and leaders, so individual leaders. Companies, they've probably got a marketing team, but I've worked with clients that are companies that have a marketing team, but they don't have the capability to do it. So they've asked me to do it. Or people find freelancers. There are people out there that can do it. Part reason why I created this business is because to save people a lot of time so that they can just focus on recording. Because if they're batch recording, the last thing they want to do is batch editing, and they don't really have the time for it because they've got their jobs to worry about as well. So delegation's one thing. Either give it to someone in your team, give it to a freelancer. I can help. And as a bonus, the one thing that keeps me on mission is staying committed to the goal. What is the reason why I did this in the first place? That's the thought you've got to keep in mind. Write it down. Always keep that in mind, because that discipline of when things get tough, when the days that are hard and you don't want to feel like doing this, you don't have the money or the resources to delegate this to someone else. By remembering why you did this in the first place, it's going to prevent you from quitting, because unfortunately, a lot of people start podcasts and they want to quit when they have impactful, inspiring messages to share. And then there's a lot of experience and insights that is become really valuable for other people. So always remember why you did this in the first place. So if I quickly summate them, the 4 things: have some sort of structure, batch your episodes, delegate, outsource what you can, and remember to stay committed to the goal. Anyway, that's all I've got for today's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Please share this around if you found this valuable, and I will see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening, and remember, your voice matters. Soundboard acknowledges the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, paying respects to elders past, present, and emerging.